It is going to burst very soon. Some corrections will happen because the valuations today which are there are something which I don't believe, and I'm sure many other friends of mine in the internet world have the same opinion. However, so coming to the corporate governance, moving into Dr. Kumar and Dr. Sharma has actually covered everything, so that's the advantage when you always speak in the last. However, I will talk about not what happened in the companies. I will talk about the shift which I have personally as a CEO of the company incorporated with my colleagues from working from a business family today now into a company which is today backed by NASPERS. So I will cut all my presentation out apart from this transition happened 3 years back when NASPERS actually acquired us and they are a shareholder in my company today. And today NASPERS is the South African media giant, has invested in Flipkart, OLX, GoIbibo, Redbus, one of the leading internet assets in India. And over the last 3 years, when I was running a family business and transiting into NASPERS as a shareholder, I've actually learned a lot on how the corporate governance works. I know the ambassador from Tunisia is here. I must say, sir, we do a lot of business in Tunisia. And North Africa is something which we're very, very strong at. So there's certain corporate governance which we need to follow in the African world, which is very, very different than what it is in India. So I'm not only fighting the corporate governance in India, I'm actually abiding by a lot of rules and regulations in North Africa, Middle East, and in Latin America. So 55 countries is something, every country behaves differently, has different laws, and it's something which is amazing, the amount I learned visiting all these countries and learning and how these corporate governance. But nevertheless, I will just come back to the main points on what we try to do on a day-to-day level at our own businesses. So one is written internal control procedures implemented. This is something I believe is very, very important. There's a document which we have today in the company which is made and read by every employee to understand what the company requires, and one has to, and this is actually not only in the favor of the company, it can also be in favor of the employees. Policies like treasury management procedures in place, banking policies, you have to have minimum 2 or 3 signatories so that I don't run away with the money one day, or one of my other founders also. Limits to kept in a single bank. I am not authorized to keep 30% of, more than 30% of my money in any single bank. After the Lehman crash, I think a lot of big corporates, bigger companies have started implementing this, not only depending on one bank. Delegation of authority matrices, very, very important. I think everybody, whether it's the regional managers, the local managers, both at the A, B, C, D levels of the management, should actually know what are the approval matrices they need to follow. The maker-checker policy is very, very important. I make a policy, somebody checks it, so that everybody knows what's happening in the company. And also a matrix on the operation cost and the capital expenditures, which are very, very important today. Credit risk management policies, debtor credit policy, laying down criteria like signed service agreements, getting security checks, securitizing the company from risk, from debtors as well as creditors. Risk analysis, very, very important. In my opinion today, what's happening in Yemen, for example, is affecting my business today sitting, because I do a lot of business in Saudi Arabia, which is definitely affecting us. How do we actually overcome that risk working in those markets because of an external factor which is beyond our control? Business continuity procedures. What is a disaster recovery? God forbid there's a fire in the office and all our servers crash. What do? That is something I have to have a backup place that the company cannot stop. Even if there's a fire at my head office, the company has to continue to work. So where is the disaster management? You'll be surprised, sitting in Gurgaon in Delhi, my disaster recovery management sits in Ireland. That God forbid something goes wrong in Delhi or Gurgaon, the company and the customers, the stakeholders and the consumers will not suffer. Internal audits are conducted by NASPERS. They come to our office every 3 months from South Africa, and they actually audit the way a PwC would have done in my company. So PwC today is our auditors, especially after the Satyam's crash. I don't know for some reason everybody is discussing Satyam today, but they were the major auditors there. And after what happened in Satyam, PwC, that is what they have started doing in our company. And I'm glad that they're doing it, because I'm very happy that everything is being followed the way it should be followed. And why I say NASPERS? Because today they are listed on the Johannesburg Stock Exchange. The company is $65 billion on the market cap, and the corporate governance which they have actually taught us because of being a listed asset in Africa is something beyond things which I don't even think that a lot of Indian companies do. When it comes to commitment values and ethical conducts of businesses, code of conduct, ethical policies, laying down general principles to be followed by employees in the workplace. A whistleblower policy, something which is, the policy is amazing. Anybody anonymously can call that number which is there in South Africa and can complain of any fraudulent activity happening in a company without even me knowing. And the best part is, if the fraudulent activity was just because somebody did it to take his anger out in the company, is also penalized in case he was wrong. So whistleblower policy is something which is very, very great. The number is not in India, it's based in Cape Town. And anybody in our company across the 55 countries can actually call and talk about anything which is they might think is fraudulent. Sexual harassment policy, very, very big in corporate governance today. There's a proper handbook which we have for anything which might happen. I hope it never happens, but there's something, we have a policy in place. Employee handbook. Unfortunately, the labor laws in India are so weak that sometimes the actual employees take the company to their advantage. So there's a proper handbook which tells the obligations of the company and the obligations of the employees. So in case there's a problem, everybody goes back to the handbook which they had signed when they had joined. I had signed when they had got employed. And that is something which is the Bible in our company for them to follow as they work, for both the benefit for us. Policy on related party transactions. Obviously, there are other companies, I'm directors. Corporate governance, there is a very, very strict law that you have to manage the intra-company related matters, which we are very, very careful about. Accurate in legal and tax compliances, something you can't evade, and I don't even suggest anybody should. So we are very, very legal, tax compliant, because being a listed company ourselves today, through our shareholder, we got to do this, not only in India, as a global player. And transparently to employees, share what is happening in the company, be transparent. If you're transparent, the employees will value you. They will probably suggest something, they will guide you something if something is going wrong in the company. So that's from my side. I'm a young entrepreneur. I'm sure people on my left have far more experience in corporate governance, but something what I thought I should tell you what I do on a day-to-day practical business. And apart from just TBO, I'm also an angel investor in many e-commerce companies. And what I learned at TBO today is something I incorporate with all the young founders. So just to give you a brief, Dineout was a company I had invested, which was acquired by Times City. I had invested in News and Shorts. Today we raised 5 million from Tiger Global. The third one we just sold yesterday. It's on the press today. But because of Satyam, the news is very small. So Grofer, which is an online grocery company, acquired the company called My Green Box, which I had invested just 9 months back. Fourth one, I failed completely. So it happens, you know, bad things happen, shit happens, that's fine. So internet is something I love. My cards are available. You can ask Dr. Vinita Gupta. If anybody needs to know what's happening in the internet world, please feel free to email me, call me. We'll love to help you guys. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ankush Nichavan. And thank you so much, Madam Lalita Nichavan, the Director of Nichavan Group of Company, for sponsoring the conference. Thank you very much. Thank you, Ankushji. Thank you.
Now it's time to present a token of appreciation to all our guests. I request our Chairman Sir to please present a memento to our Chief Guest, Mr. Praveen Kumar Purwar. Thank you, sir. Now I request our Director, Dr. C.S. Sharma, to present a token of appreciation to our guest of honor, Mr. Witness Negwine. Thank you, sir. Now I request Professor Khurana to present a token of appreciation to our guest of honor, Mr. Jamil Bojdaria. Thank you, sir. I again request our Director, Dr. C.S. Sharma, to please present a token of appreciation to our guest of honor, Mr. Emily Mipsy. Thank you, sir. I now request Dr. Nankishorji Garg to present a memento to our keynote speaker, Professor J.P. Sharma. Thank you, sir. I now request Dr. D.M. Dwivedi to please present a memento to Mr. Ashish Jain. Thank you, sir. I now request our director, sir, to please present a memento to Mr. Ankush Nijhawan. Mr. Ankush Nijhawan, kindly come on the stage. I again request our director, sir, to please present a memento to Mr. Ankush Nijhawan. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much, sir. I now request our chairman, sir, to please present a memento to Mrs. Lalita Nijhawan. She is a director of Nijhawan Group of Industries. Give a big round of applause to all our guests. Thank you, sir. Thank you, madam. I hope that your experience at this conference will be fruitful. Once again, I wish to thank all the delegates to grace this occasion. I want to thank our conference partner, FIO, knowledge partner, ICSI, and channel partner, Live India. I also want to thank our sponsors, Union Bank of India, Oriental Bank of Commerce, Coca-Cola, PFC, Nijhawan Group of Companies, IMS, and RSC for their valuable support. Now it's time for a tea break. I would like to request all our guests to move towards mini auditorium. Tea is waiting for you. We will resume here after sharp half an hour for our first plenary session. Thank you all of you.
Dr. Vinita, Dr. Urvashi, Dr. Khurana, other professors and senior members, Mr. Sanjay Nagar, Regional Director, ICSI, my company secretary, friends and members present here, and future of our country in the shape of students here. Good afternoon. Thank you for responding back. I am here in the capacity of representing our Institute of Company Secretaries, and we are privileged to be the knowledge partner of today's program. My council colleague and my dear friend Manish, who has just left for some urgent reason, has been in discussion with Dr. Urvashi and Vinita ma'am as well. And what I have honestly understood after visiting here and after speaking to Dr. Vinita and Dr. Urvashi for the last few days is that I've seen very few colleges and very few professors finding interest in these kind of topics honestly, and finding energy to organize this kind of a program. I've been a faculty at various management institutes, and in fact after my association with Company Secretaries Institute, my association with other institutes have obviously gone down. But I remember I used to come here to gyms. I used to come here to Rukmini Devi to take lectures when I started my career around a decade back, 7-8 years back. Bharatiya Vidyapeeth, Paschim Vihar. I have hardly seen colleges organizing these kind of events. So the outset, I on behalf of the entire Northern India Regional Council of the ICSI, congratulate you, ma'am. You have done a brilliant job. To the entire team and to you all as well, to come here and understand this typical subject. It seems to be very interesting, but it is typical. I can see few of our company secretary members, around 20 of them who are here. We requested our members also to join. And they are the masters. Why I am saying they are the masters? Because being in a company, working as a company secretary, in fact, few days back, and I am sure Vinita ma'am would know this, that few days back a talk was on that the name of our institute from Institute of Company Secretaries should change to Institute of Governance Professionals of India. Because we are predominantly called as someone who is a governance professional. So that's why it was our privilege when we discussed about this event to associate ourselves with the institute. And obviously one thing which missed out today in the morning, which was not shared, which I am sharing now, and I don't know how many of us are aware, that Professor J.P. Sharma, who came in the morning to be the keynote speaker, is predominantly a company secretary. He was a company secretary first, and then he joined universities, and then he became a professor, and he got a doctorate, and then he joined DSC and then Delhi University. So he was very happy to see me today, and he was very happy he was sharing to see ICSI as a knowledge partner, because we have been doing a lot of programs with him as well. Friends, as far as topic and the theme for the day, for rather the 2 days international conference, corporate governance, a paradigm shift. Since I was today in the morning present over here, I felt we need to speak about the paradigm shift. What is this shift talked about? What is this shift discussed here? Is there in reality a shift being done? And why, in this entire gamut of corporate governance, a paradigm shift is required or is expected? As already shared by the faculties in the morning session, in the inaugural and the opening session, corporate governance in fact was a theoretical concept as far as our country is concerned 15 years back. Around 12 years back, the concept in reality came into books. Listing agreement, I don't know how many of you are aware, is the agreement or the norms by which any listed entity whose securities are listed on a stock exchange is bound to follow. Introduced the concept of corporate governance by clause 49. And over a period of time, a shift is expected and is seen in this gamut of corporate governance. In fact, when this concept of corporate governance was initiated, promoters used to say, what is this corporate governance? You need to comply with certain laws, okay, do it. You need to formulate some policies, okay, do it. So it's a formality, do check. That's all what you are supposed to do. And you, once you qualify from this college, I'm sure you all would be joining, a few organizations, or you may even become an entrepreneur in the beginning itself. In both the cases, if you feel that this corporate governance has something to do with the compliances and the disclosures, which are obviously routine, then you are mistaken. The kind of liabilities which are now incorporated in the new Companies Act, the faculties have briefly touched this in the morning as well, is huge. Huge. Imprisonment is there. A new provision is introduced, punishment for fraud. The definition is huge. And you all can be under the trap. Rather not you all, we all. Whoever is in touch with the corporate, working in the corporate, has to be very careful. Has to be very careful of the liabilities, has to be very careful of the roles and liabilities of a professional dealing with that organization. This kind of shift, the corporate governance, when initially this concept was introduced, before the shift, now why a paradigm shift is seen nowadays? Before this shift, initially the concept was introduced by having independent directors. Are you aware, independent directors, the concept of independent directors? Have you heard? You are here? Yes. Now this concept of independent directors was introduced and as already shared in the morning as well. People used to have their drivers, malis, to be the independent directors. But now over a period of time, entire shift is seen. Under the Companies Act 2013, each company is required to do their board evaluation. The concept of ownership is being differentiated from the control. Now people who used to own an enterprise may not control it in their own whims and fancies, because all the stakeholders are involved. Now stakeholders doesn't mean that only when a company is listed, it becomes publicly listed, only then you invest in the share of a company and only then, the stakeholders are concerned. No. Even in a private limited company, when a bank gives a loan, that becomes a publicly concerned company. How is bank earning the money? Obviously from public. So bank is putting in money in a private concern. For what? For that company to follow good practices, for the company to deliver what it promised. Now after this concept of independent directors which was introduced, now a shift was seen and expected. That is why it is now brought into the act as well. That each board, each company would be required to set up their system in action, to set up the processes by which each director's performance would be evaluated. And the same would be mentioned in the board report. Same would be placed before the board. Same would be made publicly available. So the entire gamut of your thoughts that a public limited company or the 10 people sitting in a board can do whatever they feel like, sorry, the time is gone. They have to set up practices, they have to follow the practices which they have set up, and they are bound to follow those practices. Otherwise the punishment is huge. Another concept which is recently brought into the new act, women director, and I can see a lot of our women entrepreneurs, would-be women entrepreneurs, and I'm sure this event being organized by two powerful women of this institute, I'm sure they will organize a program on women directors also sometime, and we can also offer you our support for that event as well, because that is going to be a difficult proposition for all companies. Yesterday only SEBI has come up with a notification of imposing penalty of 50,000, I believe 50,000. Jain Sahab, am I right? Our senior member Mr. S.K. Jain may confirm. I have not read that entire notification because of paucity of time. Yesterday only SEBI has come up with this notification of imposing penalty because companies were supposed to have women directors on a specific company threshold. A specific category of companies are required to have one woman director in their board. Probably the reason which is thought of is that women brings a lot of parity in the decisions, a lot of harmony in the decisions, and a lot of equalness, unbiasedness approach in the board. That is why this concept of women director is also introduced. Now, it depends on the corporate whether they do away with this formality by appointing their wives to be on the board, or they actually look forward for people or for women experts like our Dr. Urvashi or Dr. Vinita to be a director on some corporates, knowing this subject well, knowing how to deal with this subject or deal with the corporate affairs to the extent they are expected to deal with. So this concept of corporate governance is overseeing a shift. That is why the theme is appropriate. Now apart from this theme being appropriate, the sub-theme which was given to me today is governance from boardroom to marketplaces. Now whatever a board of directors are discussing, or whatever systems or processes a board of directors are developing for them to follow, may not be really going to the marketplace. Now marketplace is very important here, and I would request Dr. Chandrasekhar to please lend me his ears for another 10 minutes, because I have a very old memory of my dealing with him when he used to come to our Prasad Nagar premises. Am I right, sir? From that time I have heard about him, and today I met him after many years. Great to see you, sir, and thank you for inviting us here and giving us this opportunity for being the knowledge partner. I was sharing this concept of corporate governance. I personally feel cannot be successful and cannot meet what is expected from it till the time the mentality changes. Till the time this mentality goes away from the promoters that yes, they are the one who are going to run the company in the fashion they want. Whatever concept you bring in, shift cannot be seen. A real shift can only be seen once nature changes, once the attitude of the promoters will change. Once they realize that yes, now the time has come, that they have to follow the best practices, they have to develop systems, they have to follow, they have to comply with the law, they have to make the disclosures. You won't believe, recently I appeared before SEBI, Bombay, for one of the listed companies, and this is an interesting story you must hear. This is a good infrastructure company based in Ludhiana, and they brought out a project in Ludhiana, infrastructure project, and you know, every listed company is supposed to disclose about its financial every quarter. I don't know how many of us are aware, but every listed company is supposed to disclose its quarterly financial figures to stock exchanges wherever they are listed. Now, this company was obviously sending their disclosures because you are bound to follow, and SEBI is now extraordinarily powerful. SEBI in our country is one of the most, you know, I don't know what term I should use. What came to my mind is dangerous, honestly. And one of the most active regulators. You know, they'll be, if they see something going bad, they'll be behind you and they'll not allow you to sleep even. They'll take away your sleep fully. The kind of system they have, the kind of vigil mechanism they have in their authority itself. They first check, they first observe SEBI. So what they did here, stock exchange forwards all these compliances to SEBI. This client of mine got a notice from SEBI that, my dear company, you are sending these disclosures, but the disclosures you are sending are misleading. And why they are misleading? Because you are exaggerating your revenues and you are misleading the public that your revenues have gone up 50%. That's a serious concern. So the matter came to me. I appeared before SEBI. That SEBI member asked me, Mr. Chawla, tell me, can you do what they have done? And I was trying to justify. And in fact, when I had a detailed look in the financials of the company, I realized what they were doing was not deliberate. Probably their MBA finance was their CFO. Never realized that the money which a company takes as a loan or advances cannot be booked in revenues, cannot be by any means shown as the advances received against projects from customers. Because what you receive from customers, you know, I am not going into the technicalities of the financials, but I am just explaining the role of a professional MBA, because you all would be doing that role and you would be playing that role, and I am, you know, interplaying that with the theme here. So ultimately the order is reserved, but ultimately I explained to the bench there that this kind of mistake, which is apparent mistake, is not deliberate. When they realize, they have corrected. So I am sharing that SEBI on one wrong disclosure, not non-disclosure. Disclosure is fine, but wrong disclosure, they'll take you away. They'll take you, you know, they'll take away you from your boardroom to jail room. And it will not take much time for them to do that. Recently what I have seen is that professionals are personally being sent notices by these authorities. On their personal capacity, they are being asked to reply to the show cause notices. They are being asked to deposit penalty from their personal sources. So this kind of shift is seen. And when you take away all these shift and relate it with the market practices, with the real market practices, Dr. Sharma also shared in the morning about the Satyam scam. Now, before Satyam scam, there were a lot of scams. Do you know about Ketan Parekh? Do you know? Tell me, my friend. Do you know? Ketan Parekh, who was he? Tell me, anyone. Yeah. Loud.
He was involved in circular marketing.
Yeah, circular marketing. Good. Circular trading. Yes. And Harshad Mehta? How many of you know? You know Harshad Mehta?
Ketan Parekh followed Harshad Mehta.
Okay, only no, but their way of working was different. That I can share separately. Ma'am, in fact, one thing, ma'am, came to my mind here. In fact, you can have a session on case studies as well. You know, maybe on Satyam as a case study, or on Harshad Mehta itself, Harshad Mehta scam itself as a case study, UTI scam as a case study. you know, a half-day workshop on corporate scams. You know, unless you know what people have done, you really cannot know what you don't have to do. You know, what mistakes people have committed. Knowingly, those all mistakes were not mistakes. Those were scams. Knowingly, deliberately, people did it. But we must educate, you know, it came to my mind, so I'm sharing off the hook. So, all these structures, all these policies, all these disclosures are ultimately linked to the market practices. Whatever is discussed in the boardroom goes to market. You know, because nothing is made, nothing is discussed only to discuss in the boardroom. Whatever decisions are taken in boardroom are implemented when it goes to the marketplaces. And you and we are the one who take it to the marketplaces. So that's why we need to understand the real role of a professional, so that we understand this subject and then we imbibe this subject in ourselves, and then we imbibe the same in the promoters and change the mindset. Because whatever corporate governance we understand and we discuss thousands of years, nothing can happen unless the real mindset of the promoters will change. And I have seen that changing over a period of time. Now promoters are concerned of their liabilities. Promoters are concerned of the risk they are carrying being the promoter. That is why you know, this concept of delinking the ownership from control emerged. That's why this process of board evaluation came up. Recently in Companies Act 2013, a concept of secretarial audit has come up. That's another panacea to good governance. Secretarial audit would be required to be conducted by our practicing company secretaries, and I can see at least 15 of my friends here who are practicing company secretaries. And in fact, Dr. Chandrasekhar, if in the lunch break any of our participant wishes to speak to them, they will be available here. Around 8-10 people are here. Mr. Jain, Meenuji, Sharadji, Alokji is there, and they can speak to them. I will have to rush to another conference today. I will not be able to stay here after my session and after my discussion. Another change which is very important, which you must understand, which was talked about today in the morning as well, insider trading. How many of us know about insider trading? Do we really know? Yeah, tell me. What is insider trading regulations? Yeah, tell me. No. Yeah. When you know about the company.
And you roll out the information.
Okay, very good. Do you know what is the change brought in the new regulations? Recently, SEBI has come up with new insider trading regulations. Now, this is directly taking boardroom, taking governance from boardroom to marketplace. How? Because earlier the board of directors were required to follow the insider trading regulations, but the onus was on SEBI. Onus was on the guy who is sending the show cause notice to prove that particular board of directors or particular director has breached insider trading regulations. Now it is shifted. What is shifted? The governance, a paradigm shift. What is shifted? The earlier responsibility or the onus was on the SEBI to prove that yes, Mr. Hari Kumar has done this default. Being in company, he was leaking the insider information of the company to himself or to other people to trade in the market and to get benefit in the share market. But now the onus and the presumption is on the board itself. Presumption is on the directors itself. So it is directly taking governance from here in the boardroom to the marketplace. Now the market, the guy who are dealing in the market, it means here in this case the board of directors have to be cautious. So on and so forth, lot of changes are being brought. CSR has already been discussed. My time is already over, I believe. I cannot take more time. Other speakers are already here. But at the end, I can certainly say that this concept from books have to be imbibed here. And once we all professionals imbibe this subject in our mind and heart, and only then we'll be able to transfer it or paraphrase it to the real people who deal with it, the promoters, the directors, the controlling directors. And that's all I can share. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, Maharaja Agarsen Institute. Thank you, Dr. Chandrasekhar, for this organizing this kind of event. I am sure in the future as well, whatever support from our institute is required, we can offer the same in maximum extent possible. As far as our institute is concerned, I don't know how many of you are aware that our vision and mission, our institute's vision and mission both have corporate governance, and in fact not corporate governance in it, but good corporate governance. Vision of our institute is to be a leader in promoting good corporate governance, and the mission of our institute, of Company Secretaries Institute, and I request you all, if you are not pursuing Company Secretaries profession, you must do it. And I am not doing a career awareness here, but since the topic is such which is closely linked to our profession, I am taking this liberty to encourage you all, because people who are sitting here obviously have an interest in this field, and if you have real interest, then you join our profession, you will get to know about real corporate governance, kind of detailed discussion, detailed curriculum we have. And the mission our institute has taken is to prepare extraordinary caliber professionals who can deliver results in good corporate governance and who can profess corporate governance, and not even corporate governance, good corporate governance. That's all I can share. Thank you.
The change in corporate regime of India was very beautifully brought out by you, sir. Indeed, with the new Companies Act, there is a paradigm shift in the governing practices of India. Thank you, sir, for simplifying the transformation of governing rules happening in India. Now, I request our Director, Sir, Dr. C.S. Sharma, to present a memento to Mr. N.P.S. Chawla. I would like to have a round of applause for...
Good afternoon, friends. Would you like to hear me in English or Hindi? Please respond. My call? My call. So it will be a mix of Hindi and English. See, Mr. Chawla, when he spoke, he said that under new regime of corporate governance and accountability, the onus now is on companies to prove their innocence and transparency thereby. But unfortunately, we are living in an age where privatization is the most important factor in our way of governance in India. But the political leadership of the country or the political establishment of the country is as such that they do not allow level playing field, or there is an increasing incidence of political, bureaucratic and corporate nexus. This works two ways. One is this corporate political nexus, and the second one is bureaucratic corporate nexus, and both work, vice versa, both ways. This is where we are. So on the one hand, we are looking for more transparency and accountability. On the other hand, we see more cases, more examples, or I would call it rampant, the incidences of political, bureaucratic and corporate nexus. You see, many people must have dealt about the fact that we saw a landmark judgment yesterday on this Ramalinga Raju's case, Satyam fraud. Satyam fraud case is like a milestone, and many corporate fraud cases have been dealt here with, like Harshad Mehta or Ketan Mehta, Ketan Parekh and all. You see, how does it happen? How does it happen? Recently we saw number of cases, number of agents being caught for stealing policy papers from the Ministry of the Government of India. Who were they? Who were they planted by? It is only because of this bureaucratic, political and the corporate nexus that such incidences are to be seen. On the other hand, the Prime Minister of the country, yesterday only in his interview said that he wants a level playing field for Mukesh Ambani as well as everyone. So this seems contradictory, because the structural and the functioning aspect of the whole governance in this country is that you have a lot of incidences of nexus. I will just start with the political funding aspect. 2014 general elections saw a major milestone in terms of corporate dominance on the Indian electoral scene. In that case, even the media was tried vehemently, very aggressively to be influenced, and media to an extent was influenced by the corporate funding of the political parties and the political leaders. So there seems to be a contradiction when you talk about paradigm shift in corporate governance. You talk about transparency in corporate governance as well as political arena. On the other hand, you are saying that the accountability lies with the companies or with the individual to prove their innocence and transparency when it comes to corporate governance. So these things are very contradictory in itself. I was talking about political funding. You see, you'd see a lot of examples of tax frauds. You see a lot of tax evasion. You see a lot of evaded taxes being parked in the foreign lands, what do we call it, Swiss accounts. On the other hand, you see that none of the political parties are ready to have a transparent political funding regime, wherein they are not ready, they are not at all ready to come under the ambit of RTI or whatever cases whatever returns they file or the disclosures they make are, empty and is fraud-like. So the corporates, on the one hand, when you are talking about the transparency and good governance in the corporate sector, on the other hand, the political funding which is done is very non-transparent, and none of the political parties are ready to disclose it, and even the corporates are not disclosing it, only a chit is given. So it becomes a nexus, it becomes a vicious circle. So whatever you call it, you might just call it on the paper that you want transparency, level playing field and see-through and accountability and whatnot. The things are different. Then recently only one political party of the country submitted or announced that they are willing to come under the RTI thing. But none other than one party said that they are ready to come under RTI. My view is just to improve the governance, accountability, transparency and see-through. My view is that even the corporate sector, the private sector, the private individual, the corporate non-governmental entities should be brought under RTI. This is one thing which I am advocating, and quite fiercely and forcefully, that why to run away from RTI? One RTI legislation has done a lot of good as far as the governmental functioning of the bureaucratic functioning in this country is concerned, but why not corporates? You see, I give you an example of how does it work on the nexus part. Every year 62,000 crores worth of tax, tax incentives are given to the corporates every year. And in advanced taxes formula, we see some 5.5 lakh crores are, just dispensed with. And on the other hand, you are talking about corporate social responsibility and what not. There seems to be no clarity. Only a nexus works among the 3-4 big pillars of the society or the country. So it doesn't work. Why to shy away from RTI? It will do a lot of good. You see, the previous speaker was saying that SEBI has become very powerful or very dangerous, he said. But at the same time, if we do take certain steps things will improve. I'm not saying that we will reach an ideal state of affairs, but definitely we are going to see a state of improvement. The second thing which I want to discuss is that recently what we saw was a lot of cases of espionage from the ministry. Why it happened and why it was disclosed so late, and it's just a leaf from the whatever runs so deep in this country, that bureaucratic files in terms of policy making, in terms of official secrets are being leaked, and it was not being leaked for a month or two. It was being leaked for years and years, that to just peek through the process of policy making, get informations, and on basis of that you do your thing. We can't work in a system of lobbying and corporate nexus. We cannot. And the fact is that in this country, and if the corporates are only looking at the crutches or dependency or the government or the political functionaries to get information and to get favors, things will not improve in terms of governance in the corporate sector. If you are depending on leakages or the push money factor, things will not improve. So, bringing things in transparency is the demand of the day. Thirdly, we see a lot of institutions like CBI, IB, ED, etc. and all. Do we have enough intelligence, cross-check facilities or processes in the corporate sector? This is one of the biggest reasons that corporate frauds happen. That over the years in a family kind of owned business, you keep on carrying all those corrupt practices and with no checks and all, and ultimately it happens. It's by chance that you are caught. Ramalinga Raju was caught by a chance. I don't say that he was caught by a process. We do not have enough processes within the government also or in the corporate sector from within to check things. My proposal is that something like some organization or some institution like CBI, IB or CID, etc. kind of thing, some parallel structure should be within the organization, within the corporate sector, or separately for the corporate sector. I'm making an important point here. The funds, the governance, the allotments, we do not have much transparency, as I believe, in the corporate sector. That is why you don't see a level playing field, and so a lot of things happen here and there, and we believe in the culture of manipulation, tax evasion, and just billing and funding and getting the works done. It's not worthwhile. It will not work in a country which is trying to get away from license Raj, from the governmental control, what Prime Minister of the country called minimum government, maximum governance. That is what he says. So how will it work? Unless your processes are right, you are not influenced by lobbying, you are not influenced by nexus, then if the Prime Minister wants that this Make in India thing to further proceed and be very successful. How it will? If you have red tapeism, if you have favors and nexus kind of umbrella sin in this country, do you think it will work? For one business that you start, you need 200 clearances. Until you have a push factor or you have a manipulation factor, you have a ghotala factor, you can't be able to work. So to bring transparency and governance within a kind of a atmosphere making, things will not work. Lehman thing which happened in America doesn't happen every day there. But one Lehman broke and things broke like hell. So the requirement is of having a if not foolproof, semi-proof kind of a governance where there is a level playing field. Then you don't need lobbying, then you don't need spying and to steal papers from the governmental ministries. Then you don't need ghotalas if you have a level playing field. You don't need a license kind of a thing. You need to work in a free atmosphere, which is a level playing field. Then the things will flow accordingly. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir, for your presence. Thank you, sir. Mr. Varun Soni.
Hello, Chair. So it will take me another 2 minutes till that screen comes down, in the time we can talk. So, hi guys. How many of you are sitting here just because of attendance? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. In the first row. Courageous. So I used to be the one sitting on the back row, not even sitting, sleeping, like lying down in such conferences. So I'll not be boring, but I'll try to make it interesting. I'm not as knowledgeable as the previous two speakers. They're pretty experienced in their field. I'm an amateur now. I don't know much about corporate governance as well. I just know the CSR part of it, as I've been working for this organization called Make a Difference. How many of you know about it? 1, 2, 3, 4, yes. So 5. So yes, we are India's biggest youth voluntary organization. We are in 23 cities. So I'll talk about it. Will the screen come down? Yes. Okay. Another 2. I'll talk about myself. So I'm Varun. I work for Jabong as a marketing management trainee. So I've done my BTech. You must be wondering how BTech landed up as a management trainee. So it is just because of my experience with Make a Difference for the past 3 years that brought me where I am today. So I take care of marketing as well as supply chain. Not take care, but I'm just a small part of the puzzle for Jabong. So now you can see my logo there. So I'll start the presentation. So I'll talk about Make a Difference first. So as I told you, Make a Difference is India's biggest youth voluntary organization. We teach kids in shelter home and orphanages. We go on the weekends. We have a huge volunteer base of close to 2,500 plus volunteers, which are doing either students like you or working somewhere like me. And on the weekends they find time and go to these shelter homes and teach kids. Why we have grown immensely? We started in 2006 and till 2010 we were just in a single city. But after 2010 there was just like a topic, there was a shift and we started growing because of the corporate funds that kept coming in huge amounts. So we are in 23 cities apparently. A stronger base is in the south of India. North India has Delhi, Chandigarh, Lucknow, Dehradun. So whenever you're in that city, you can go to a MAT chapter there. You'll come across volunteers, go to shelter homes and teach kids English, maths and science on the weekends. We started with this, just an English support to them. So we thought that English was a major part missing in the puzzle for these kids because they weren't that excelling. They had brilliant minds like you and me and even better than you and me. But they weren't excelling as far to us. So we started teaching them English. But later we thought it's not just English. They need a complete support out of it. So we took up subjects like English, maths and science now. So I'll talk about my project as well. So the organization was started in 2006 by a bunch of college-going students which went to a shelter home just to celebrate the success in their academics. So when they scored good, they said, okay, let's celebrate, let's take some cookies and candies to these kids and we'll celebrate. Just like few of us do on our birthdays as well. Go to a shelter home, distribute the good food or cakes to them. So these guys did the same like that. But what they felt that day was these kids weren't curious about eating the chocolates or the things that were given to them. They were more curious, what does that Bhaiya do or what does that Didi do? Apparently, why are they distributing those chocolates and these things? So these guys went again next weekend, and they started interacting with them, started nurturing them, started teaching them, started to be their family, be their support to them. So this is how this organization started in 2006 with the legal things that bounded them. So they thought, let's make it big, just like we do every time we think about, come up with an idea, we're like, let's make it big, man, let's make it big. These guys also did the same. So they were faced by many legal aspects to it, how to get an organization into place, what are the legal documents that you need for it. So they fought all the battle, and in 2009 they registered themselves, and since 2010 and after that, it's been growing like immensely. So 23 cities, you can see the cities that we are in. So anytime you go there, say hi to a MAD volunteer, they will definitely give you a high five. So why the need of such an organization? So I told you, so there is a vast difference in the age child, the same age child as me and the same age child living in a shelter home. He has the same mind, but just the lack of resources, the lack of opportunity, the lack of things that he's not exposed to. In living in a shelter home, you have to be in that shelter room 24/7. So that just, so remember, ask yourself, who was your first mentor that took you around and taught you like things that this is the right thing, this is you should become a pilot. So pilots fly planes. Students in class 8 and 9 don't know that a pilot flies a plane. So that is the amount of exposure that they lack. So Make a Difference took up that opportunity, and they started exposing kids to various career opportunities that they will be having after their school. So 95% of the kids that enroll themselves in class 5th in living in a shelter home drop out by 11th or 12th. 75% of them drop out. So the dropout ratio was pretty bad when we started. The shelter homes that we cater to has now a pretty less dropout ratio to it, and we have made some impact. We believe we have. Hope you go back and see the website and see the difference that we made, and hope you see the Facebook page and do see the difference that we made. Coming to the next point, MAD overview. I told most of it, 9 years, 23 cities, 5,200 children, 2,900 volunteers who are not paid actually. They're not even paid a penny. Few reimbursements are made on their own bills and all. And 85 shelter homes where we cater to. And this is our organization. And the vision is that even the most vulnerable children in the society are able to pursue their passion. That is what we want to impart in all the kids that we cater to. So MAD model. So we start from 6th standard to, I'll make it quick because it's not related to the topic I believe. So we start in class 6, start supporting a child with a project called Ed Support, which caters to English, Maths and Science. Then we have projects Discover and Dream Camp and Propel, which takes care of the after school support of the child. So why we have become so organized and big is just because of the CSR funds that we got after the 2013 thing that happened, the Companies Act. I don't know the exact legalities of it. But after that, people start calling up, okay, you want funds, come to us. That wasn't there before this. So the 2% cap that these guys have, that they have to donate to a non-profit organization from their profit, that made us like, okay, we are rich now. Not rich, but yeah, we had funds to fulfill what we want to. So the annual budget for Make a Difference for the last year was 7.25 crores, out of which 76 to 77% was donated by few big corporates. Rest was done by the volunteer base itself, going to their community, going to their schools, colleges, their chachas, tayas, mamas, and asking them for money and getting the funds to sustain the organization. So we are a self-sustained organization. We have, I'll come to that one. Sorry. Our projects, I told that Project Ed Support, that is English, Maths and Science to all the kids from class 5th to 10th. Project Discover, where we give the opportunity for a child to discover what is there outside these four walls. So we take them to a Adobe office and show them how you can become a software engineer, how you can become a designer of that sort. We take them to a Radio Mirchi office and show them how you can become a radio jockey. Use our resources to make their dreams, so make them dream what they will, and when they get out of this shell rope, they have all this for them. So Project Discover, career awareness for that, and Project Propel, it is, as the word suggests, it is the thing that pushes them when they are out of the 12th standard. So we give them a support even after they are passed out of 12. We try to take care of as many kids, get them admitted into good colleges. One of the few kids that I taught just got into Khalsa, and I never got into Khalsa. He got through, so that was a good kick for me. After that, Project Propel, we have another project which I'll show you a video of. Hope you like it, and it's called Dream Camp. We'll start. Very informative even for me, as I have few ideas of my own to start up something. So these guys gave some things. Okay, the lights went now. So bad timing, sir. So these guys gave some tips and insights on how to start something of your own. So kids in 6th and 7th standard loved it, and the Google people also were pretty happy to do such an activity. The video showed that. So this is kind of the CSR things that we offer to our corporates that donate things to us and donate money to us actually. Apart from that, Matt Delhi, I told you everything about it. How employees can help from a corporate side. Okay, I'm done. Okay, I will. So, what employees can help us become a volunteer, be a like, what do you call it? Become an owner of a child in the shelter home, and the career awareness activity like you saw the video. So we have won all these awards. Even Michelle Obama came down in Mumbai and met our kids for a complete day. So that was something like. Few stories, people from Chennai and Cochin, kids from Chennai and Cochin have got full paid scholarships to US, and they're studying there and excelling in their fields. Even I haven't cleared my GRE as of now, but these guys have. So amazing, and you can contact us anytime at makerdiff.in. That will be all about it. And the things that we do on our CSR front was my talk for the day, and hope you guys enjoy it. Thank you so much.